Welcome to the Storytelling Lab, where we break down the art and science of storytelling. My name is Bennett. I'm your host, and I'm a filmmaker and an author on a quest to understand how we can tell better stories so that we can do better work and make the world a better place. Each episode, I host one of the world's best storytellers to help you understand how to leverage storytelling to increase your sales, deepen your connections, and serve your audiences better. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode, and I hope that you love it. Nelson, my friend, welcome to the Storytelling Lab. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
I appreciate you being here. Let's go ahead and get right into it. How long exactly have you been with Nike?
I'm sort of a freak show. I've been here 50 years.
50 years. It's a little bit of time.
Yeah.
How many?
I was lucky. I mean, I was a runner from Southern California, and I ran track in high school, and I kept running, and through running is how I got connected with Nike. And it was like right guy, right place, right time, and to fill the need of this tiny company called Blue Ribbon Sports, which was making their own product called Nike, and that was 1972. I got hired in 1973 and never looked back.
You know, to stay with a company that long, they have to be doing something right for you. So why?
Yeah, no, it's what I tell everybody. I says, you want to be successful in life, you got to do what you love. And if you're doing what you love, you will get the psychological and emotional feedback, which will make you happy. And you'll learn to live within your means, no matter what it is you choose to do. They allowed me to come in, kind of a ADHD guy, because I'm all over the street, right? And they gave me 100 things to do. Like, Luke, you bet I can do it. And off I go. The big word for me was trust. I'm a liberal arts major. I'm not a business major. I don't know anything about footwear or apparel, but I was not afraid to try. And they told me when they hired me, well, what do you want me to do? I said, oh, you figure it out. You're from Southern California. You figure it out. And that trust was just liberating, because you were not afraid to take risks. You were not afraid to fail while you thought it through. You're not afraid to learn and grow and experiment. And that environment was just like.
Now, you said you were a liberal arts major. What exactly did you study in school?
Anything. I had chemistry on one end and anthropology on the other end. I mean, I just took a bunch of courses because I had no. When I went to college, I had no plan at all.
Mm-hmm.
Still, a kid, but I was interested in everything. So I took courses across the board. It ended up being liberal arts.
But when you grew up as an athlete, right? And you play a lot of sports.
Yeah.
So
my emotional state was sport, competition, games, teams, play, all that stuff. And I joined a sports company that's all about sport, teams, play, athletes. So right guy, right place, right time. That's what I'm saying. Fortunate, like unbelievable that I was able to take my personal background and interest and find a place that's similar.
So, I grew up an athlete as well, and also an artist all along the while, and I always struggled with kind of compartmentalizing those two identities. My jock friends weren't doing musical theater, and my nerdy artsy friends weren't training every day either. So I always struggle with those two parts of my identity. At what point, being a sports-minded, competitive person, did storytelling and even the liberal arts pursuits kind of enter the game for you?
Yeah, from day one. I'm a very verbal guy too. I'm a talker, and but storytelling. Being in sport, there was 1,000 stories every day. Global athletes, teams, extraordinary performances. New women showing up running marathons. Story. a European soccer club scored 6 goals, unheard of, you know. So it was like there was no there was no vacuum for what's going on in the world, and so there was constant storytelling about athletes, teams, sports, countries.
It's such a great point. I don't think we've, it seems so obvious, right? But I don't think we've ever made that point on the show. I mean, sports are inherently story based because they're driven by conflict and
Absolutely.
obstacles and stakes. It's all the things that stories are made of.
And global.
Yeah.
I go anywhere in the world and not know anything about them, and we can have a conversation
Yep.
because it's about the same stuff. Tell me about your team. How did you beat those dudes? Who's this guy? And man, it's easy because that's to me, it's one of the great global common things that everybody can relate to. Everybody.
Absolutely. Such a connector. And yeah, that's what we look for, what we talk about here on the show often is with storytelling. You want to find, tell the micro story, but you're touching on that macro universal theme that people can relate to. This is exactly what it is with sports. So I love that so much. So when you started at Nike, I believe you had seen something. It was a video or an interview or a conference or something you had done sometime where you were talking about, being a smaller company at that time at least. They weren't, meaning your competitors, the bigger companies, weren't going to track meets, et cetera, and et cetera, like meeting the athletes. Basically, implying that that's what you were doing at that time. Is that true? Is that accurate?
Yes, we knew that in order to compete, little tiny company from Beaverton, Oregon, we had to be present everywhere, and we had to innovate like crazy. Innovation and presence, or what we would call customer service. And we would go to track meets, schools, we'd go everywhere, and we built relationships with people because we were authentic sports people going to deal with authentic athletes, teams, coaches, teachers, whatever. And so we proved our authenticity and our commitment by showing up. So we were present every day, trying to do something to help athletes compete and train and be a part of sport. So we were sports guys talking sport to sports guys meaning women. But it was kind of in our organic DNA, and it was easy because we knew what we were doing, and we were talking to people that were like us. And then we'd learn from that. We go back and we say, man, somebody had an idea. Why don't we make one of those and test it out and give the shoot, run around the block, tell me what you think. So, but being present, being in the field, which showed commitment, it showed that we believed in who we were. It showed that we were not afraid to go try things that nobody else had done before. And, right under the nose of 20 companies, we beat them.
How did those years, however long you did that specific job or task, how did what you learned during those times influence what you would apply to the marketing strategy when you had that as a position later on?
Yeah, the marketing just talks about the culture, who you are.
Hmm.
The culture was authentic and real on the field, so it was easy to think, how do we talk to this audience in a fun way, creative, just do it. It's like the advertising agency understood that, and we were not in the advertising business. We were in the communication business. This is who we are, what we stand for.
Speaking of the Just Do It campaign, were you a part of that?
I was a part of helping execute it, but I was not a part of planning it.
Who were some of the early people in your days at Nike? And now I'm speaking specifically to understanding brand storytelling, marketing. Who were some of the early people that got it, that kind of shaped that culture?
Well, there were. You're asking a guy whose memory has gone south. There was a ton of guys. I mean, Phil Knight, the founder, Rob Strasser was the thing, Ron Nelson, Harry Karsh, Sue Gemma, Patsy Mess. There was a ton of people. Again, it was highly interactive company where everybody was feeding in. You could go to a meeting and you could raise your hand and speak. We had a very inclusive attitude and the freedom to participate. So we were not encumbered by, oh, here comes the vice president. We're going to listen to him. No, the vice president said, what do you guys think? So we had this incredibly interactive culture that listened to all voices. And out of that came a sense of what to do. Then we got hooked up with White and Kennedy, and a bunch of young guys in Portland who came over here to talk to us about advertising because we didn't advertise. But I'm telling you, they understood. So it was chemistry was we were like instant, and between who we were and how they were going to talk about us.
Before we started the show, you and I were chatting, and you said something I'm going to paraphrase. Hopefully, I get the gist of it right. But you were essentially saying that everybody on the team, no matter what role, has storytelling as part of their journey, or it's built into them, or they have a unique perspective. Do you remember us saying that? Can you elaborate on that a little bit? And is that intentional by Nike? Because it sounds like what you're saying is like they're finding the right people first.
Yeah, it was organic. It wasn't intentional, and but there's some pieces that everybody's different, and there's two things that I talk about. Number one is storytelling is based on something that you personally observed or a part of, or something you heard about and you're passing on. So there's the live story that you were actually a part of that story, you're telling people about it, or you've heard it and then you're passing on. So there's two kinds of storytelling. And when you talk to people and they're hearing you, they're listening from their point of view. So you may be saying this, but they're hearing this. And so you got to be careful and thoughtful about what you're saying. If you're giving out facts, you better have your facts right. If you're being fuzzy, and tell them, I'm not sure what I'm talking about, but this is what I saw or what I heard. And so I think storytelling is about a lot of honesty and being aware that your audience, depending upon who they are and where they're from, when you say a word or a phrase, they may interpret that differently than what you think you heard. So storytelling, what I've learned is you get to think it through a little bit. Be careful what comes out of your mouth. Is that you get this, what did he just say? Or that's right. But it's two things: personal experience or passing on the story. Passing on.
Have you noticed any patterns of which of those is more effective at what time? Or in what scenario or situation?
Yeah, let me think about that.
Yeah. Because I think you're definitely right. I like the personal experience and then passing it along, and I'm just wondering if, when it might be better to leverage personal experience, for example.
Personal experience, again, because then it's an authentic, I was there, boom. So that adds value to believability. Really, you saw that? You talked to so-and-so? So there's credibility that comes from firsthand observation or firsthand participation. And I think that if we have a meeting, somebody wants to say something, and they talk that way, all eyes go on the person because it's believable because you were there. Well, what happened? Tell us what you saw or what was said or whatever. And then if it's anecdotal, then it becomes a discussion. What did you hear? Really? Well, I heard this, and then you go back and forth. But firsthand delivery, I think, is always authenticates the message.
Yeah, you've said something, and I mean you said it right now as well, but I've heard you say it before, where each one of us is a unique storyteller, and that is influenced by the environment we come from. And I love that you make that point, because I believe that to be true. I'm from Eastern North Carolina, from a rural town on the water. All of those things influence the way I view the world and my perspective of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if someone tells us they're from New York, we put our New York hat. Oh, guys from New York, that guy. So you have this. What you've heard the word unconscious bias. You hear things that aren't true, but you get them in your head. Yeah. And that's why storytelling can go one way or another, depending upon who's telling and where they're from. New Jersey guy together.
It's because we have our own story of New Jersey and New York, right? And it's such a good point that
Yeah, like
uh,
we're from Beaverton. They get it. Well, Beaverton? What the hell is that?
it's such a good point about that the audience is just as important, plays just
Yep.
as important of a role in the storytelling exchange. It's a dance, it's a collaboration, yeah?
Yeah, it is. And you and if you do have an audience, then it's up to you to do your homework.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
Talk, and you can't just walk in and run off, blah blah blah. You've got to understand who you're talking to and what message are you trying to deliver, if any, or what would be appropriate to say. You got to be careful. You can't badmouth another part of the world because it's not true. It's not storytelling. It's But I think you've got to know your audience, and if you don't, you just got to be careful of what you say and how you think. If you caught up somebody walks in your office and they go, "Hey, what about so and so?" Tell them something. You just take a pause. Don't say something stupid or wrong.
Yeah. Working at Nike for as long as you have, I'm sure that you have mentored a lot of people, or shown them the path, so to speak. I'm wondering who along your journey has played the role of some sort of mentor or guide for you.
Yeah, no, I'm a sponge, and I learn from everybody. And I think in the '70s, my big influence is a guy named Rob Strasser, who is in the book Shoe Dog. He was a big guy, 300 pounds, 6 feet tall, brilliant strategist and guy. And he was a marketing guy, and he was great with language and stuff. And just dialoguing with him, because he was storytelling constantly, by the way, the things we wrote, the ads we prepared, whatever. So I think dialoguing with him taught me a lot. And he was my boss for like 8 years. So I think he personally really influenced um, my communication skills, as I watched him do what he was good at, and I also watched him do what he wasn't good at.
Mm.
That made me reflect, God, don't go down that street, down this street. And so it makes you become aware of your skills and also who you are. And the more you know yourself.
Speaking of knowing your strengths and weaknesses, we can call it, or knowing the role that you feel, like what you do well and what you don't do so well, i.e., where you should put your energy. How much does Nike enforce or reinforce that overall brand narrative with internally with its employees? Does everybody understand what story we're telling on a macro level?
I think so, because we've grown up that way.
Sure.
And but having said that, each generation
Mm,
in here sees it differently.
that's a
You
good
know,
point.
talking to 28-year-olds who know what artificial intelligence is. I don't. So how do we communicate? And so I think there's some generational, my age group, Boomer, Gen X, Gen Y, down that list, and they're kind of different kinds of people who grew up exposed to a different world than the one that I was raised in. So you just have to be sensitive to that when you say things, they didn't live in that life. They didn't grow up like we did.
Right.
And you may say something that you think is correct, and well, that's not right at all.
Yeah.
So knowing your audience, knowing that employees are reading everything that happens about us, that we're constantly storytelling among ourselves. And I think pretty much everybody, there's 11,000 employees here, and I think everybody pretty much is on point to kind of understand the big picture, and you may have nuances all over the place, sure. But overall, because of our ads, because of the products we have, the athletes we work with, there's a common sense of Nike as a sports company serving athletes, and that resonates through, I think, pretty much everything.
For you personally in your journey to be there 50 years, that's a great point that you made about the generations. What has been your focus, or how have you approached your evolution from that perspective? It's a completely different world than it was in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
So, have you consciously tried to evolve with that? What's your approach to that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do. I speak to a lot of people, especially new employees, because they're curious. How did we get here? So I'm really good at telling what behavior got us to this point, and by extension, what you need to do to keep it going. So I don't know them um, in any depth about their lifestyle, but I want them to understand the fundamentals that have always worked for us. And just by talking about it, uh, you get, okay, you're on the team. You're now a part of the family. You're the newest member, but you need to know this. Boom. You know this, the rest is up to you. Go figure it out. And I think that that discussion that I have with thousands of employees over the last 50 years, it grounds everybody. When you ask somebody what it's like sports and fitness, and then what do? Well, we do this, and we do it in 100 countries in the world.
Yeah.
It's just talking to people, embrace them because they're on the team. And our founders, Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman, the concept they used to make the company was built around a sport team, not a corporation, a sport team. And the reason is, I think, in sport, if you're on the team, you count. I mean, you may be Michael Jordan scoring all the points, or you may be the kid that brings the water in, helps out the bench. You're still on the team. And when you get people to recognize, they've been hired to join this sports company, you expect them to do due diligence and learn as much as they can because they're on the team. We don't hire people to abuse them. We want you to make us better. And using the sports metaphor, we tell them, all we can ask when we hire you is do your best. That's all you do your best. You made a contribution. That's what we did when we had no money, no talent, nobody knew how to do anything. But by working together and giving it your best efforts.
Another thing that's changed so much in those 50 years is technology, of course. On the flip side of that, do you think that what people want on like a primitive psychological level, what people want and or what motivates people, do you think that has changed much?
Yeah, I mean, when I started, we didn't have computers. Okay, so you're talking about AI and technology, and I can't answer that because it's baffling. And what I hope that what we learn how to do is use technology to reinforce our fundamentals to keep us who we are and keep us healthy and focused on better service, better product. But people who have a whole division of tech people have no idea what they do. I just don't know.
Yeah.
And I have to trust them that they're figuring it out. And they may show me faster ways to navigate the computer or get access to information. At the end of the day, it's human beings talking and interacting with human beings. Technology is going to help, but you and we're not going to talk to each other like this. Never say a word. We're going to do this, interact, and we're humans and we're social animals. So communication is going to go that way, but learning may come from other places, which obviously is the future of tech and AI. But someone's got to sit at the table. You got to help people who don't understand this great story. We did this with AI, and I'm going, what the hell does that mean? And then you got to complete it. Okay, got it. But still, human beings, social animals, high interaction, storytelling. Storytelling is it's a part of culture. It's what the whole world does. I'm talking to a friend of mine in Hawaii. He said, Hawaiians get together, they say it's talk story. We're doing it. We're talk story today, and they do that. So where they just talk to people what happened today and what happened. Willard's dog got hit by a car, and I mean, it, it's it's what we do as humans, and we story tell all the time, verbal, and then there's other ways we story tell too. So verbal is, human beings, social animals.
Yeah. The one of the main reasons I invited you on the show was this role that you played, Chief Storytelling Officer. I know that you've had many roles over the course of your career there, but that was the one. That's how I found out about your work. So I just want to start with: do you remember who used that title, like that term first, or who was the first person you remember calling it that?
No, I don't. It just morphed up. One day I was chief storyteller, and the day before I wasn't. So I don't know where it came from. I think it's because I have done so many meetings over the years that it's just, oh, he's the guy, he's the storyteller. So I never called myself that. It was anointed to me by others.
Were you the first one?
No, everybody was storytelling. I just focused on it because, like I said, I'm a verbal guy. Don't ask me to run your division. If you want me to talk about your division, then I can do that. And I'm verbal, and I had an ability to go anywhere in the world and connect with people because of sport, and I'm not afraid to do that. And I became a communicator and could go to any country and story tell and connect who Nike was and what we looked like in that country or that team or whatever. And out of that, I just built a reputation, and that's where it all came from.
When that title was bestowed upon you, what roles and responsibilities did it bring with it, other than what you've just mentioned?
None. It was it was like one day I was Nelson Farris, next day I'm Nelson Farris, chief storyteller. Patch on my shoe, and there wasn't any job description. I was doing it anyway. I figured out how to navigate the company and what messages to deliver and how to deliver them. And that was just for me paying attention and knowing that I had this skill and I can maximize it if I did my homework and knew what I was talking about. And it just, because I'd done it so long, people just started looking at me more and more than ever, and I became that guy.
Yeah. So, we were also chatting a little bit beforehand, and I had mentioned that since that point, I know a few other bigger companies, years ago had a dedicated person with that title. Now it seems to be a little more ubiquitous, maybe not quite ubiquitous, but it's common, I'll say. If you're a smaller company or a solopreneur, is that still something that you should consider even if you don't have a dedicated person? And if so, how? With all the million of other things that you're doing as a small business owner, how do you still keep focused on the story you're trying to tell people?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I don't care what size your company is. If I go to a small company, I want to know who we are, why are we doing this, what are we doing, what are our goals, who's good here, who isn't. I mean, storytelling is, I need to do something. I talk to Bob, talk to Susan over here. She knows. Oh, okay, we'll talk to Susan. Yeah. But it's you have to articulate who you are and what you stand for, and then out of that will come deep dives. Oh, so you mean this, but don't do this. And everybody has a story, and to work for a company and not know their story, that's a bad deal. Wouldn't want to be a part of that. It'd be like going to work and having a job. Yeah, I've never had a job, but a lifestyle. A lifestyle is Nike today has been from day one: sports, fitness, innovation, athletes, getting out, meeting people, travel all over the world. That's the story.
It sounds like a very fortunate position and situation for you. On a more personal level, I think people's relationships with work post-pandemic has changed. Do you advise people to seek out that type of lifestyle, as you said? Find something that you love and do it with all your heart. Because I think people are a little confused right now or about that relationship with work and life.
Yeah, no, good point. I mean, we came back from COVID and the time away, and we came back to work, 4 days a week, 3 days a week for a lot of people, and because of technology, you recognize you didn't have to come to work and sit in a cube and do this. You could do it at home. You needed to be here for meetings and interaction. But that was a shift. The whole 9 to 5, Monday through Friday history just went right out the window. No, I mean, all of a sudden you don't have to. And as a business, like, we found out we had greater flexibility and we could still do a great job and still and keep our integrity connected and our commitment together. But we didn't have to be physically present on the 9 to 5, Monday through Friday time schedule. And so people were allowed to make these adjustments in their life, which turned out to be a huge benefit. You're a parent, you got 2 kids, get up in the morning, you got to feed them, get them dressed, get them off to school, get in your car, fight traffic, come to work. Guess what? Come to work an hour later. So what? Because we know when you're home, you're on the computer when you go home at night, catching up. So people's work, because of technology, shifted. You could see how much was being done at home and how much you don't need to be here to do that. So we've learned from it and we've adapted. And it's important that if you're on a team, you know the players and you interact with everybody, but it's not what it was. And our business, we've still been successful. And it's because we were smart enough to realize the benefit that came from not locking people in 9 to 5.
Speaking of, a lot of my listeners are smaller businesses, solopreneurs, personal brands, nonprofits, etc. Do you have any advice for those smaller brands in terms of strategy or tactics when they don't have, a lot of times there's a narrative they're telling themselves of like, well, I don't have Nike money. I don't have Nike's team. I
Right.
can't storytell or market like they do. What do you advise to someone that is thinking those thoughts?
Yeah, no, well, you got to know yourself. And then you got to come up with your own storytelling and your own marketing. I mean, if you exist, why do you exist? And if you can make it fun. I mean, in the early days, we partied pretty good around here because, we're working our butts off, not 100% sure what we're doing, but we would celebrate it every week. We go out after work with a beer or something, or we'd have a party, someone's birthday, we'd stop the presses and celebrate. So we did human things. You don't come to work and do your work and go home. It was a highly interactive human enterprise. And so play and fun, 2 words that are part of sport, right? Bring them into the workplace. And it's not drudgery. I mean, what are we doing here? We're gonna make the best donuts in the world. Okay. So then that's the mission, and you have the vision, and you sit around and talk about donuts, and you experiment, one with this, one with that. And guess what? You end up with 50 donuts at the end of the year because people are out there experimenting, and they grew the business by being innovative, being creative, having fun, having play, and not have work be drudgery.
That's so great. You mentioned Wyden and Kennedy, and obviously you all have created some of the most well-known spots in ad history together. How important are those kinds of partnerships? Finding another team that you work really well with.
Well, it's huge if you're trying to, again, you're trying to tell the world who you are.
Yeah.
They have to know you intimately.
Right.
How did you start? What was your thinking? What are your goals? What's important to you? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And when we sat down, Wyden and Kennedy, we had a lot of meetings, back and forth. And they looked we became partners. We didn't hire them to do work for us. We hired them to work with us, to figure out how we could talk about ourselves. You go to the outside world with a stupid ad, you're screwed. So you can't, you just have to collaborate. But it's to show up, make the commitment. You're on the team, everybody counts. Don't be afraid to fail, do your homework, ask questions, and but build a team. And again, if you're on the team, everybody counts. And we could be in a meeting and see all the executives, and somebody walks in that's the front desk person and says, "Hey, yeah, what do you got?" You don't dismiss them, and you want that kind of interaction where people recognize they can make a contribution here, no matter who they are, where they are. And if you have a familial, embracing culture, that ideas come up all the time. Now, 8 out of 10 ideas are dumb, don't work, but they come up. Out of that, you find 2 that are great, you win. And I just think that fun environment, playful environment, know who you are, know the team players, know you have the respect of your boss, know that you have some flexibility depending upon your lifestyle. Put all that together, you get people's heart and mind. I need your heart and I need your brain. I don't need your muscles. And if I have you here, we win.
So good. What were some of your proudest moments in your career where you're chuckling? It seems like you have something already.
Yeah, no, I got fired one time, so my proudest moment is they got hired back. So that was
buddy. What'd you get fired for?
Oh, I was being a jerk. I did something stupid. I can't remember what it was, but it was painful. I thought I was going to die.
Oh man,
I do, but I think that because of company and what I've done, I have 100 high points, and it's hard to go that one or that one. Because I've had so much luck to get around good people, smarter people than me, better at what they do, to being part of that team or that project. Hundreds of those. That's the luck. Is that being around people who are smarter than you and who have other kinds of skills is liberating, because you know what you can do and you can't do, and what you should do and shouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
Ask me to do this, but ask me to do this. So
yeah,
the luck of joining Nike was the brilliance that was surrounded me. 2.0 liberal arts major. I really didn't bring a lot to the table here, other than I was a good hustler. Not afraid.
Starts there.
I mean, respect people that you work with and know them, know your team, and you'll see why. Why is that guy the CEO? Why is that guy the vice president? That person here doesn't. Why are you here? There's a reason. Mm-hmm. This is what I do. Good enough to let me do that. That's okay. Don't get your ego out of it. Ego's a big getting a man called real grief. People, well, I just don't do that kind of work. Okay, we'll go somewhere else. Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody says, I don't need to be crushed. Well, you should say, not only do I empty the trash, I will be the best trash emptier you've ever seen. Mindset is
you talk a lot about this alignment that you had where, the things that you loved were a part of what was going on at Nike, and so it was just kind of a fit with who you naturally were, and so therefore easy. I'm wondering, how has Nike changed you as a person?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think if I was to sit down with a psychologist right now, I'd probably spew out some...
You're here, babe. You're here.
And they're embarrassing. But I think it's made me more responsible. It's made me recognize that I'm a talker and that I need to shut up occasionally. It's taught me what I'm not good at, so I don't go down that path. It's taught me more about collaboration and working with other people, working on teams. Because I came here as a single contributor at the time. I worked out of my house for the first 5 years in Southern California. So I had to learn about working with other people that were like me. They were not from Southern Cal. They were from Oregon or other places. So collaboration, teamwork, personal responsibility, shut up, you know, keep your promises. I'd say things and then I'd do it and I'd forget. And, he said that. Well, then don't say it, So making yourself aware of who you are as a person and then develop your good traits and then don't spend too much time on your bad ones. Just don't do them.
Hmm.
Collaboration's optional.
Yeah. What is your current title at the company?
Chief storyteller.
Is it still?
No, I mean it's not on any paper, but that's what people say. So
what is it? I saw something that you were. Is it? You said you were in HR, not HR specifically,
right?
But employee education development. Is that fair?
Yeah.
How does storytelling and the way that you've learned it there at Nike apply to that position?
Yeah, no, I was in HR for a while because we have a program for brand new employees. We run everybody through it, and that's total storytelling. With stories, with pictures, with product. This is what you've joined. This is who we are. This is, in a brief way, how we got here. This is what we expect from you. And we would do that weekly. So we're doing these things all the time with other people. And at one time, it was a 4-day process. Now it's a 1-day process. We did different things in 20 now. But I think that making sure that every new employee had a sense in their head, fundamentals that allowed us, like I said earlier, with no money, no talent, we knew how to do anything. How did we come together and work together and show up and become what we are today, which is the #1 sports brand in the world? Who would have thought? That's crazy. But it's the way we work and the way we embraced everybody to join the team as a member of the team. Here's what we expect from you, because that's what got us to where we are.
So, is there an end to the story of your partnership with Nike? How long do you think that you'll stay there? It feels like forever.
Well, I've already violated the rules. I tell people I've worked for 50 years and I get one of these. It's like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you retire? I go, would I retire from doing what I love? To go play golf 3 times a week with 8 pounds. I'm not going to do that, So, that's, but I wasn't good at what I was doing. They'd have fired me, or I would have been bored. But I'm not. I come to work every day. I love it. I love the interaction with people. I love being around smarter people. I love being around a changing culture and a changing environment, and it motivates me. So I don't want to shut that off. When the time will come, then I've got to have plan B, which is take my energy and go do something. Because I think about this on Sunday night when I go to bed, wake up Monday morning, I'm not here. I better have something to do or my brain will explode, right? I'm thinking about that.
Absolutely. Well, from one man who doesn't ever want to retire because he loves what he does to another, Nelson, I appreciate your time, my friend. This has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for asking, and good luck, everybody.